We're here today to discuss one of the proposed constitutional amendments that are going to be on your ballot. On November, if you that are going to be on your ballot on November, if you vote before then, Amendment 3. And I've had a lot of people come up to me and really well, good to see you. It's great to be back in Southwest Florida. I'm joined with Surgeon General of Florida, Dr. Joe Ladapo. Our Hardee County Sheriff, Vent Crawford. Karen Bailey, who's a mother. And Ozzy Morabel, co-owner of Taco Works restaurants in Southwest Florida. So we're here today to discuss one of the proposed constitutional amendments that are going to be on your ballot on November, if you vote before then, Amendment 3. And I've had a lot of people come up to me, and really the whole time I've been governor, even running for governor, voters would say, okay, how do you make sense of these amendments? Because, let's face it, when these special interest amendments get on, they're trying to write it in a way that's going to trick as many people as possible to vote for it. That's by design. They spend millions of dollars to poll test this. And so a lot of folks were like, can you talk? I heard you mention it. And so we're going to do. So I'm going to address kind of what the amendment means, how it got here, and then we'll have our panelists discuss some other aspects of this. So first of all, how did proposed Amendment 3 get on your ballot? It didn't just happen out of thin air. It wasn't immaculately conceived. It was put on the ballot.
100 episodes of No Gray Areas. We've had approximately 100 amazing guests on this podcast. For this particular episode, we decided to do something really special. We're going to look at the top 10 episodes of No Gray Areas. We're going to go through kind of like highlights.
Come on, please get me a good pull. Come on, please. Please, what is this, rare? Another rare? Wait, what's this? Oh, unique! Another unique!
That's right, you can get 2,000 free draws for the brand new Tokyo Ghoul game when you pre-register using this video. Put your strategies to the test and choose humans and ghouls in single-player and co-op PvP battles to fight other players in real time. With amazing 3D cel-shaded animation and smooth graphics, it perfectly restores the Tokyo Ghoul anime storyline, so don't miss.
Because one on your ballot. It didn't just these special interest amendments get on. They're trying to write it in a way that's going to trick as many people as possible to vote for it. That's by design. They spend millions of dollars to poll test this. And so a lot of folks were like, can you talk? I heard you mention it. And so we're going to do. So I'm going to address kind of what the amendment means, how it got here, and then we'll have our panelists discuss some other aspects of this. So first of all, how did proposed Amendment 3 get on your ballot? It didn't just happen out of thin air. It wasn't immaculately conceived. It was put on the ballot because one big weed company has now spent $100 million trying to pass it. This amendment was written by the CEO of that big weed company. And so just think about it. This is a weed company that is publicly traded on the Canadian Stock Exchange. As a CEO, and as a publicly traded company, you have a fiduciary duty to maximize the value for your shareholders. So when this amendment is being written, this amendment is being written to benefit this one big weed company. It is not meant to benefit you. It's not meant to benefit the state. If they did anything other than try to benefit themselves, it'd be a violation of their business responsibilities. They are not spending $100 million because they want to benefit you or to benefit the state of Florida. So that's how it got here. So let's just be clear about that. And here's, I think, a good example of what that means. Sometimes people say, oh, well, the free state of Florida, first of all, we do have legal weed, by the way. You get a medical card. A lot of people get it. I implemented that when I became governor. Not everyone that has a medical card has a terminal condition. I know that. I mean, the reality is there's a lot of people that do it. So that's there. But it doesn't overwhelm our public spaces, and it hasn't caused, big problems with quality of life. So we do have that. But some people say, hey, free state of Florida. Why not? Well, here's the thing. They wrote this amendment. And what they say is you have a right to possess and smoke up to 100 joints of weed at a time, which is more than California and Colorado by far, but only if you buy it from them. You are not allowed to grow your own weed in your backyard and use it. You can only buy and utilize weed if you purchase it from the big weed cartel that they create in this constitutional amendment. And that's what they do. They take the incumbent companies. They get these special privileges to be able to produce and sell and all that marijuana, but you don't get to. If you wanted to grow it your own, you would not be able to. And they'll say, oh, I see these commercials, no one should be put in prison for smoking marijuana. Well, I agree with that. And so I asked the Department of Corrections, our secretary, how many people are currently in prison in Florida for either possessing or smoking, this amount of marijuana? You know the answer to that? 0. Not a single person in the state of Florida. So that's a total red herring on that. But you can bet your bottom dollar if this passes, if they spend $100 million plus, I think it's up to $110 million now, do you not think they're going to lobby the legislature to crack down and increase penalties on homegrown? That will happen. That's in their business interest. They need to force the transactions into this big weed cartel. So that's what they're doing on this. And so it's not a freedom amendment. And I would say it's doubly not freedom because you have a freedom, should have the freedom as a Floridian to live your life without being impacted by marijuana if it's something you don't like. You should be able to go to restaurants and go into town and go into parks and not have this dominating everywhere like it does in California, like it does in Colorado, like it does in New York City. I've had people that have moved to Florida from New York City because they're like, look, I'm more liberal on this, and I supported it, but they can't even walk their kids down the sidewalk in Manhattan without smelling it everywhere. And so we have to respect the freedom of people to be able to live their lives without being impacted by this. This amendment does not provide any ability to limit the use of this in our public spaces, our parks, our beaches, all that stuff. There is nothing, and one thing I think is that's really troubling about this, you get this ballot summary on your ballot. You do not get the actual text of the amendment. I would encourage you to read this. In fact, I would challenge you, you should never vote for an amendment you haven't read. It will not be on your ballot. You've got to go find this. So I would read it. You will not be able to find any ability to prevent Florida from becoming Colorado or California. In fact, it's just the opposite. This is more liberal with respect to public use. Colorado actually has prohibitions on it. Here, they're saying that you can smoke it and you're not subject to any criminal, civil liability or sanctions, any sanctions. So think about it, because I've had some business owners say to me, yeah, I don't want it in my restaurant, but I'll just make them leave. You can't sanction them for using it. This is blanket. There is no exception. The words that they're using matter. This would be part of our Constitution forever. We would never change this if it ends up passing. So it is not supportive of freedom if you want to grow your own, and that it infringes on the freedom of people that don't want to be impacted by marijuana use and just want to be able to do. And I think a lot of Floridians, look, I mean, Joe's going to talk about, we want to discourage this use. It is not positive, okay? I know some people are saying, it doesn't matter, people. That's not true. There's a lot of people that think differently. I get that. But I think a lot of Floridians are like, you know what? Whatever people are doing in their home, I don't really care. I just don't want amendment you haven't read. It will not be on your ballot. You've got to go find this. So I would read it. You will not be able to find